Hi there, you're on Late Night America.
Hello, this is Andy from Kentucky.
Go ahead, Andy.
I'm interested in this new law proposed by the administration about a sub-minimum wage for teenagers. I'd like to know how you think that will affect small businesses as compared with how it'll affect large corporations.
Well, first of all, I think it'll be a benefit to the small business community because they certainly need the labor force, and it's actually the small business who would be more likely to employ those people. Your mainstream workers, your middle-aged workers, are generally the ones that are employed by large companies. It's your young workers and your very old workers who are really employed in great numbers by the small business community. I personally think it'll be a very good thing for both the small business community and a lot of the teenage unemployed, minority unemployeds. I think these would be very much helped by that kind of legislation.
Hi there, you're on Late Night America.
Yes, Dennis. My name is Bob, and I'm from Rockford, Michigan. I'm a small businessman, and I basically talk to Small Business Administration, and they've really slackened off as far as support towards minority businesses.
Okay.
And I'd like to know, why is the government basically slacking their support towards the small business as far as financial is concerned?
Okay, and especially the minorities.
Right. Well, we live in a very curious situation in this country, in that we have socialism for the rich and free enterprise for the poor. If you're in a small business, the government has really never helped you very much. And if you've been in a big business where you're considered a major foundation of the financial community, the government rushes to your aid when you need assistance. That's always been true in America, and it probably will be true for a great long period of time into the future. As far as the administration, their policy towards small business hasn't been as good as I personally would have liked to have seen it. For example, they have drastically cut all of the funding of the SBA, the Small Business Administration, which has resulted in that program being virtually gutted as far as the small business community is concerned. Now, the significance of this is it doesn't matter if you're in a minority business or small business in general. The impact of this has been the same. So it isn't just the minority businesses which have had a reduction in assistance, but it's also small business in general. And incidentally, I'm not among those who feel that this is necessarily bad. I really feel that the small business community in general, has to stand on its own 2 feet. That the key to being an entrepreneur is you take the responsibility, but when you take the risk, you also take the rewards. And so I'm not one of these people who look to government to help us out. In fact, government help for the small business community has always been bad at best because bureaucrats and entrepreneurs simply don't mix. Entrepreneurs have never been happy with the red tape that government has always imposed upon the help that they've given. So in general, I'm really happy to see, very frankly, that this cessation of help for the small business community. I would also like to see government get off the back on the other side, which is to reduce the tax and the regulatory burdens as well.
Hi there, you're on Late Night America.
Yeah, is this Frank from Hoboken?
Hi, Frank.
If you have a successful business now, when I say small successful business, and you're reaping a profit, and you want to expand using the profits that you have made, is that a wise choice to do?
Well, the key to success in any business is to leverage yourself financially. If you're relying just on your own profits to fund your growth, you work very hard all year long, and you achieve a great amount of sales after all that work, and then a very small percentage of those sales translates into profits. So if you're going to grow by reinvesting your profits back in your business, you're going to have a very slow growth at best. Remember, the way big companies grow is they've learned to leverage themselves financially. Unfortunately, or fortunately for big companies, is they have access to all the capital markets. They can go public. They borrow from the banks at prime rates. They go into the bond markets and the other capital markets. You don't have all of those options in your small business. One of the things that we try to do in our organization is to train people who are in small businesses how to leverage themselves financially so that they can grow not just from their own profits, but grow through financial leverage.
How do you do it?
And one of the ways you do that is by buying out other businesses. Now, I just went through a scenario with you of how it is that you could buy a business with none of your own cash, by leveraging yourself through the financial community and buying a business with no cash and no established credit. The way to grow in business is to buy out your competition, because you can do it with none of your own cash if you know how. You can grow in leaps and bounds by buying a company who's, let's say, the same size and profitability you are. You can do it with none of your own cash. You can do it in 6 to 8 weeks. And now, I know that sounds very glib, do it in 6 to 8 weeks. But once you actually you identify your target company, and find an amenable seller. It takes 6 to 8 weeks to put that whole package together. And you can do in 6 to 8 weeks with none of your own cash what it'll take you 5 to 15 years to do by just reinvesting your own profits.
But now, how does he know that that other company is going to be as good as the one he's got? I mean,
Well,
maybe
if
it's not in a good part of town, or maybe it's doesn't have enough walk-up trade, or all kinds of things.
Well, there can be all kinds of things wrong with the company, Dennis. The key is if he's an experienced business person in his own field, if he knows his own field, he'll know what's wrong with that other company.
Maybe that other one is not succeeding because it just never, maybe there never should have been a cleaning establishment there in the first place.
Then that one isn't the right one to buy. In other words, part of what you're going to be doing as an intelligent buyer is knowing why you're buying the company that you're buying.
Do you wait till they have a for sale sign out there, or
Absolutely
do you just
not.
approach somebody?
Absolutely not.
You say, I want to buy your business?
No, one of the techniques that we recommend for finding good businesses for sale, and incidentally, there are lots of reasons why a good business would be for sale. A lot of people think, well, gee, if a business is for sale, there's probably something wrong with it. Not true. A lot of good businesses for sale. And the way you ferret out the really good businesses is you use a technique which we call direct mail. You go to, let's say I wanted to buy a wholesale cleaning business. I would go to the trade association that deals with wholesale cleaning establishments. I would ask them to purchase, and they'll sell it to me, a list of their members. I can even get the members broken down by zip codes and by employee size. I can get it in lots of different criteria, so I can define very quickly what kind of business I want to buy. I buy the mailing list. I send them out a letter, all of them that are on that list, a letter that says something very simple like, you know, Mr. Jones, I understand that you're a fine cleaning establishment. I'm interested in buying a business in your field. If you have an interest in selling your business, I'm a cash buyer. Always tell them that, because that's one thing a seller is going to be very interested to know. Say, I'm a cash buyer, and if you're interested in selling your business, please contact me at this phone number.
Wow.
And you'll be amazed at what response you'll get back if you do it systematically.
Boy, what we're learning up here is you really got to work hard to make money.
Yes, you do.
I mean, that's inventive, to go and get the list and send out the letters.
If you wait for it to come to you, Dennis, it's never going to happen. Okay?
Hi there.
And you got to do it with knowledge. You can't just do it blindly.
Hi there, you're on Late Night America?
Well, good evening. My name's Bob, calling from Boston.
Go ahead, Bob.
Faithful viewer of your show.
Thank you.
Okay. A while earlier, your guest mentioned home businesses, and I think particularly recently in the computer age, a lot of them have proliferated, highly specialized, somebody sitting there with his terminal in a consulting business.
Yeah?
Now, if you are incorporated, sometimes if you're good on the phone, you get volume discounts for a one-man business, but there is one obstacle I have never been able to cross, which is, if you do not have a certain number of people, you cannot get a group health plan.
Love it.
And the individual plans are awful. The best individual plan you can get is much worse than what a bottle washer in the IBM cafeteria gets.
Okay. Go ahead.
Okay. I love the question because it leads right into one of the things that we've just developed for our own organization. What we did is we combined the buying power of our 8,000 members, and we went out and made deals with all of the major national vendors for every single product and service that you can think of for the operation of your business, from medical insurance right on through to computers to air travel. And what we did is we found out that we could get our members anywhere from 10 to 40% off of the price they pay for everything for their business. Let me give you an example. Let's say you're a large corporation and you have executives flying all over the world.
I'm going to interrupt and put up this is important that you jot down this address, and we're going to leave it up there as Gordon is talking for the next 30 seconds. And this is the way to get involved in this international business network that provides both all kinds of things like hotline services, this purchase power thing that they're talking about. They lobby in Washington for the small businessman, but we're running out of time, and just finish that up.
Okay. For example, let's say you're a large corporation. You know you're sending executives all over the country, and you know you spend $3 million a year on air travel. So what you do is you go to a select group of major airlines, you buy all your tickets at once, they give you 10 to 40% off the price of the tickets, and so for the executive of the big corporation to fly, they fly at a fraction of the cost that you as a small businessman have to fly. We took the collective buying power of our membership, the amount of airfare that they are expending each year. We know what that is. We can now get any one of our members on any flight that he flies 10 to 20% off of every flight. We get him 10 to 40% off on his computer costs, everything. There isn't anything you could buy for your business that we can't save our members money on.
We got to run. Obviously, because of the phone traffic, everybody's interested in small business. Thank you, Gordon, for being with us.
Thank you, Dennis.
Thank you all for your calls, friends. Wednesday, we're going to talk about political polls and their influence on elections. We're also going to talk about stress on the mind as well as on the body. Have some fun tomorrow. Good night from Detroit. We thank Gordon for being with us.
Late Night America is a presentation of WTVS in Detroit.